Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about please come in, the Dean's Global Agriculture and Food Leadership Program. Hi, come on in. So we're talking about the Dean's Global Agriculture and Food Leadership Program, which is a really special program for the college. It is a leadership course that takes place over the spring semester with a practical application of that leadership with real projects with the United Nations Food and Ag Organization, which is headquartered in Rome, Italy. Iowa State has a campus in Rome that's run by our College of Design, and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences partners with the College of Design to utilize their facilities. We have campus, classroom space, and there's a staff there that helps out. And then we've partnered with the Food and Ag Organization of the United Nations since 2009 to have programs and program opportunities for students. It's a really unique course. We have a lot of information about it. Like I said, there's a semester-long class that takes place in the spring term with 4 weeks of travel to Rome in the summer at the end of the academic semester, and then 4 weeks into the summer. So it's usually second week of May to first and a half week of June that you're there. So typically we have a really formal PowerPoint presentation with lots of details and information. But this year we have alumni from the program who I think will do a much better job of telling the story of the program to give you a sense of what the course is like. So I'm going to start by asking them to introduce themselves. That's my cue to you guys. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. And then I'm going to ask them a couple of priming questions to get them to talk a little bit about the course and the program, to give you a sense of what it's about, to help you understand if this is something that you could imagine yourself doing. And we're here to answer any questions that you have about the course. I should have started by saying I'm Shelley Taylor. I'm the director of the Office for Global Engagement for the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And I've been co-instructing this course since it started. Hi, come on in, you're welcome. I've been co-instructing the course since it started in 2009, and so it's a really special program to me. Also in the room are some other really special guests that I'd like to introduce. We have our Associate Dean for Academic Innovation, Carmen Bain. Raise your hand a little higher so everybody knows who you are. And Carmen is the Dean of the Dean's Leadership Program and is one of my co-instructors. Last year we had two fantastic instructors who also led the program, Amani El-Obeid, Abby Luvaga in the back row. So again, they can help provide some context. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to start to question you. So we have some alumni from the program.
Yeah, so my name's Rachel. I'm a senior this year studying genetics and international agriculture with a minor in Spanish. And we had two different teams. I was on the camel milk team. So
My name's Sophia Parker. I'm also a senior studying global resource systems and environmental studies with a minor in Spanish. Do we need to use the microphone?
I was going to say, I'm so sorry. Rod asked me to ask you to speak closer to the microphone. And I should say, we are recording this, and we're recording you guys for students who aren't able to be here tonight. This isn't live or anything like that. So thank you for reminding me.
I'll lean into the mic a little bit more. Okay, my name's Sophia Parker. I'm studying global resource systems and environmental studies with a minor in Spanish, and I was also on the camel milk team.
Hi everyone, I'm Elena Gable. I'm a sophomore studying agricultural education and international agriculture with a minor in agronomy, and I was on the digital agriculture team.
Hi, my name's Ella McGrath. I'm also a sophomore on the digital ag team, and I'm studying global resource systems and horticulture.
Hi guys, I'm Jacob Samuelson. I'm a senior majoring in agricultural business with supply chain management option. I was on the digital ag team.
Hi, I'm Irene Nielsen. I'm a senior in dairy science ag. I'm an international ag, and I was on the camel team.
I'm Tyson Flesher. I'm a senior in global resource systems and ag and rural policy studies, and I was on the digital ag team.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to ask if someone from each of the teams would briefly describe what the project was like that you work done with the Food and Ag Organization?
Yeah, so for the camel team, we called ourselves the task force. And that stood for terrestrial animal sourced foods. And so the center of our project was we were focusing on a community that's in Uganda. And it was the Karamojan region, which has agro-pastoralist communities. And so through this, we identified, we were kind of pointed towards camels or camelids being our animal of focus. And then from there, we went down to a nutritional property of them that was going to be beneficial or be realistic for the communities. So that brought us to camel milk, and it was also International Year of the Camelid, which helped with that whole direction. And with that, we did research on camel milk, the advantages that it'll pose to the community, not as like a fix-all solution for the community and any nutritional needs and nutritional deficiencies that they're experiencing, but instead as just something that if that's increased in their community, we got to look into the nutritional benefits it would pose to women and children in particular, different ways that it would aid the community in terms of providing not necessarily employment, but an income source for women or for those in the community, and then just a lot of other aspects. And we had, as you heard, a variety of majors on our team, so we each got to kind of dive into a different area of that whole project.
Yeah, and we worked on a project regarding digital agriculture adoption in sub-Saharan Africa. So the project was really focused on the idea of in sub-Saharan Africa, there's less than 1% on average for each country of adoption of digital agriculture. And no one's really evaluated the reasons of why that is. So we really wanted to dive deep and figure out what are the reasons that are stopping people from adopting digital ag. So then we dove deep into that. That was one part of our project. And then the second part of our project was recommendations. Basically because we had this information and then we gave recommendations to the FAO about what they could do with that information to further develop the adoption of digital ag. So that was our project.
Great. So I have to say, you guys sound really confident as you're standing there talking about your expertise in camel milk and your expertise in digital agriculture. We should say that there was a semester-long class. When you started that class before the program, how much do you feel like you knew about digital agriculture or camel milk? Do you think you were a little bit of an expert coming into the projects?
Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
No, I guess speaking for myself, I knew nothing about camels or camelids really at all. And then we started kind of diving into what potential project topics would be around spring break, like the middle of the semester, and then really dove in once we got back from break. And I know more about camels than I ever thought I would ever in my life. So yeah, you don't have to be an expert on anything coming into it, because you have a lot of room to kind of dive in and grow as you go through the semester.
Yeah, and then for our team, I feel like we use technology every day, have a base understanding. However, in sub-Saharan Africa, that technology looks different. So diving into that and then researching solutions like Ella said.
Great. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions. And again, my goal is to get them to talk a little bit about what their experience was to try to share with you so you have an idea about that. But then I'm going to open it up for questions. So this is a good time to start thinking about what your own questions are. Okay. So what would you say was your biggest takeaway from the program?
I know there were a lot of different ways to get takeaways from this program, because one thing was kind of more of a life side of it. If we were living in Rome, we were learning to work with colleagues who have much more experience than we do, much more knowledge, more expertise, but we still got to come into the space and they respected what we said. They wanted to hear our ideas, and we got to develop those ideas and work together with our peers, which all of that is just so many great soft skills that, yes, employers love to hear, but it's also just a lot of self-development, helps you lead others better because you know how to communicate more. And in terms of living, it was just really fun to get to explore Rome with everybody, as well as just learn how to kind of live in a new country and get to be in an apartment together, explore a lot of very touristic areas, but also very historical, and just very interesting places. In terms of learning, we were able to just completely see what that looks like to form an idea and a project and then carry it out and like go through all the different steps, develop a good idea, make sure that's specific, make sure it's like truly applicable to the area that we were trying to focus on. And I feel like we had a big focus on applying it to the cultures and the regions that we were looking into, which I think is a really good skill going forward for any program or project or anything that we work on from here on out.
I guess I can go. So, starting off college, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my degree, as many of the freshmen in the room probably felt the same way. And so after this program, I really realized that I have a strong interest in global issues and how I can be part of the solution of those global problems. And so through class discussion with all of these people and all of the diverse majors, I found it fascinating to work on a multifaceted team where each person has a different perspective. And so that was really helped me realize that I want to be a part of that in the future.
Yeah, and like Elena said, this program truly teaches you so much. Like, I learned so much, like, in this class and, like, actually in Rome. My biggest takeaway would be, like, really get to know your team and, like, trust that your team will do what they say that they'll do to the best of their ability. I was a freshman as well when I went on this trip, and I volunteered to do the introduction for our FAO presentation because I knew that that would be what I would be the strongest at. And I was fortunate enough to have the team that would like allow me to do that and trust me enough to do that even as a freshman. And that really kind of made me reflect, like reflecting on that, it really made me think about like how much I had actually done that as another team member in previous teams. And it really made me think like, I should trust like my teammates more. And I really like think that that's like one of my biggest takeaways. And also just like learning how to work in a team is so versatile to like anything that you'll do. So like whatever major you are, like that's so applicable to anything that you go into. So yeah.
So what advice do you have for students who are considering whether or not this is the program for them?
Other than you should just go for it and apply for it. I really think like just make the most out of your time while you're there. Just like go all in your work, go all in like activities in Rome, like really just like make the most of your time. I think like one of the things that like me and Elena especially did really well was like figuring out how to do a work-life balance because we had never really had to do that before as being freshmen. So like trying to do that and then like really like just go all in on our work and then also like just exploring as much as we could and just like seeing everything that we could. Like I think that's really, yeah, like just, yeah, otherwise like be open to any like new possibilities as well. But yeah, like really just like have the time of your life.
I would say this is a really unique program that you have a lot of opportunity to take advantage of. You have a wealth of knowledge in the faculty that lead the program. So as undergraduates, you have a really unique opportunity to interact with deans of the college like Dean Bain, and then all of our professors here who have a ton of experience in the field and in international work that you're going into. And especially in the leadership aspect, these are the people in the field who have the most leadership experience. So it's really awesome to be able to get feedback and apply that as you're moving forward, and then feeling really prepared to kind of go into a higher level international space and have the confidence as someone who's an undergrad and freshman undergrad even more so to kind of exist in this space and be able to contribute. So really beneficial and a good opportunity to learn not only from your peers but also from our faculty. So
I just want to add something quickly to it because I think if you're interested at all in agriculture from a global perspective, it is such a valuable opportunity to not only leave the U.S., but to go to Italy and then work with the Food and Agriculture Organization because it is such an important player across the world. So it's like such a fantastic and unique opportunity for undergrads. We're not graduate students, we're not enough anything in that sense. And that's a lot of the times who the FAO collaborates with if it's going to be with students. So it really is a unique opportunity to connect with some really high level individuals. Like I'd say, speaking from our team alone, the two people that we interacted with were really cool people. Like they had some fantastic life experiences. They're incredibly smart, incredibly well spoken, and had incredible advice to give us as undergraduates, not only how to better ourselves in our presentations, but things to take away, and even just some of the more casual conversations that we were having, whether it was at dinner with them or just some of our more casual conversations walking to meeting rooms. They had some really interesting perspectives too from agriculture on a global scale. So they're just some really valuable connections that you wouldn't get without partaking in this program. And yeah, like both Ella and Sophia emphasized, you get to go spend a month in Rome with some cool people and just kind of take advantage of all those moments within it.
I think another thing on top of all theirs, if you're just thinking about it, it's a great way to maximize your summer because you can say it's 4 weeks and it's also only 4 weeks. So all of us had essentially 2 internship experiences, and going on a resume, if you want to talk about filling up a summer, it's like you do a 4-week global program and on top of that, you get a whole summer internship on top of that basically. So on top of all that, you still have time to do a whole nother internship after.
Great. Are there any questions? Do you have some questions for our panelists here? Please go ahead.
What was kind of like your typical day? Like, how did your days like start and build up each week?
So our days did have a consistency to them. It's completely up to like the students to a certain extent as to like how they order their day. A productive day, like ideally, includes getting up and getting to work. And then typically every day we would meet with our professors so that we can be staying on track and also be staying organized and like, what are we doing today? What's our goal to get done? And just having that vision and staying consistent and disciplined in that way. But then we also, of course, would have lunch. I know we often would kind of have lunch on our own, and then we would work again through the afternoon. And for dinner, we would always try and do group dinner. So we kind of paired off, and different people got to make dinner for the whole group, and that was really fun, kind of explore how the grocery stores worked in Rome, and then learning how the kitchen and cooking worked, which that also is something you can do here. But so we would kind of have that sort of day. I know that some of us would sometimes go and visit something during the day because it's Rome and there's a lot to do during the day. We could have filled every day with just exploring versus doing work, but since we're there to work, we had to find that balance. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of working. On the weekends, we did get to have a little bit more time to explore too, which was really fun.
There's a question.
So you mentioned that you made dinner. So where were you staying? Were you in a hotel? Or where were you living at?
All right, so the top left corner up here is from our apartment window. And so the classroom is down a couple floors there. So the 8 of us lived in one apartment. It's a bit of an adjustment for me because I only had a brother and a mom growing up. So I had to live with 6 women. A lot more hair than I thought there would be. And yeah, we cooked in the kitchen we had there. And Tyson and I made hot dogs, and that was the best one.
That was so good, actually. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
So you're partnering with FAO. To what extent are you actually working with people from FAO? How involved are they? Do they direct the research focus at all?
Great question.
So I would say that our FAO partners were really involved throughout our entire kind of course of the program. They started out giving us some kind of baseline topics as research kind of opportunities, and then as a class we all narrowed down what our focus would be. We didn't know right away what team we would be on, so we had kind of 2 different focuses: the terrestrial animal source foods and then more of digital agriculture. I can't remember what the other ones on that side of the spectrum were, but so we narrowed that down as a group, and then we, as a cohort, I guess, decided what team we thought we'd be best suited on. So that was completely up to us who we would be working with. And then starting after spring break, once we got into our teams and had a little bit of time to get a little bit of knowledge on our research focus, we started meeting with our FAO partners. I think ours was about every 2 weeks, and then a little bit more frequent as we got closer to our departure date. And then once we got in Rome, we were meeting with them at least once a week, and then sometimes more often than that, either going into the FAO meeting at the College of Design facility in our classroom there, or even just virtual meetings as their schedule allowed. And they were always super responsive if we had any questions or were willing to give us feedback. So yeah, they were really willing to hear what we had to offer, but then offer guidance as needed too. So
Also, just like to add to that, I would say one of the coolest parts of the trip was like the FAO partners that we worked with were so like receptive to what we were saying. Like we were just undergrads, you know, but like they were in the meeting, they were taking notes, they were asking us questions. Like they were so involved with like what we were saying, which is like one of the coolest parts, because I don't know, how often is it that like a UN official like actually wants to engage with undergrads, is asking them questions, like actually like treats their opinions with respect. That was one of the coolest parts as well. Like they're very involved in the project and they care a lot, so that's really cool.
So can I make a clarification? So those projects that the teams worked on are not projects they came up with. These are projects that FAO is actually working on, and the teams helped the FAO experts on these specific projects that they were on. And the output from the teams actually went into the work that the FAO experts. So when you are doing the work for FAO, you're doing work that actually will have an impact. Mm-hmm. And it's not just an intellectual exercise that they're going through.
Yes. So have you been able to like track the progress or like see the implementation of your projects yet, or like kind of see how that's going so far?
You wanna talk about ours?
Yeah, so a few things about what it even looks like, what are our outputs. So we did a research paper and a presentation, so that's what you can see in the bottom middle there. That's Ella presenting on the digital agriculture to the FAO. And then we also had a one-page policy brief. And so from that, we got to do some videos that are actually on, or our team got to do some videos that are on the FAO website talking about our experience with it and working with kind of one of the platforms they have for e-learning. But with the Year of the Camelids, something that our research is going to be kind of contributed to is they provide at the very end kind of one very comprehensive paper, a comprehensive presentation type thing of all the information about camelids and how they contribute. Because the huge thing about camels is they're super drought tolerant. In this region of Uganda, that's something that really allows them to be pushed over cattle to have that an advantage there. So the real focus on camelids is being sustainable and drought tolerant, especially because lots of them are in South America and then in the sub-Saharan region of Africa. So that's what it's going to look like at the end. So we're still in the Year of the Camelid, so we're expecting that to come out, I think, early 2025 was when they said. So our research is contributing to that in that sense, if that answers. Okay.
Yeah, and so there are a couple of other things on the table. When you walked in, there is a sign-in sheet, but also there are examples of the projects that students have done since 2009. And on the website, there's a comprehensive list as well of all of the titles of all the projects of all the students. So you can get a sense of the scope of the kinds of things that are covered. The projects are something that are intended to be for students, undergraduate students in the College of Ag and Life Sciences from any of the majors in the college. So you don't have to have a specific expertise or a specific major. There's some seats here. Please come and sit down, help yourself to some food. You don't have to be a specific major. You don't have to have a specific area of focus. Because our goal is to have a wide-ranging of the topics of the projects. And then every student can find what their niche, what their part is going to be, right? So you can get a chance to see what some of those are. I will tell you, you will not know what the project is going to be when you are applying for the program. If you get accepted, you have to commit to the program. You will not know at that time what the projects are going to be for the year that you're going to be going. That's really hard. We know that's really challenging, but timing-wise, we just don't have that information, right? And so the course in the spring is about the leadership part of that, prepping yourself to know how to start to gather information, the kinds of things you might need to know, how to work together as a team, how to kind of bring yourself up to speed. And at some point during the spring term, then the different program ideas that FAO comes up with are introduced. So I know that's a big challenge, right, to not know that. So
Shelly, can I add on to that a little
yes,
bit?
absolutely.
From a student perspective,
Yep.
it is a little bit intimidating not to know the project, when you're applying. However, coming in as like an ag ed major, I thought, how in the world am I supposed to have a specific area that I can influence in this project? However, being an education major is very important to the team because you're learning about, informing those communities, learning about the culture, learning about how does this fit into this community that we're researching, advocating, those sort of things. So no matter what your major is, you have a place on that team because you'll figure out what you're interested in and how that aspect plays into the final project.
Yes?
What's the timeline of applications?
Yeah, so the timeline of applications, great question. Applications for the program are open. They're due November 1st. Usually there are a week to 10 days where we consider the different applications and reach out to you if we need additional information. And then after about 2 weeks, we're able to determine who's been selected. Then we'll give you some time to consider if you want to commit to the program at that point. And then you would enroll in Globe 495 in the spring term, and then 497 in the summer term. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about your opportunity to learn about local food systems in Italy?
I think that was everyone's one of their favorite parts of it. Not to say that interacting with the FAO and stuff wasn't great, but about the third week of the program, we took a trip to the region of Tuscany, and we got to go on a bunch of different farm tours, interact with producers and families that had been growing food in the region for many, many years. So we got the opportunity to visit a vineyard and see what they were doing there. We toured a biodynamic farm that was completely self-sustaining with both crop and livestock systems. Then we got to go to some more unique ones, so like olive groves, and then a lot of cheesemakers, which is something I feel like you don't get the opportunity to really see very much here. And then while we were in Tuscany, we also had the opportunity to connect with a bunch of local families. So I think my favorite part of the trip, we had kind of a family-style dinner with someone named Franco and with his whole family with a bunch of different foods, and that was one of the most incredible times to connect, just on a more personal level, and then just also seeing how different food production systems are in Italy versus here was super cool, especially as someone, I don't have a ton of hands-on ag experience back home here, but yeah, that was a really cool point of learning for me, if anyone wants to expand on that.
Yeah, and so I'm a horticulture major. I had literally never seen a cow up close before this trip, and that was really cool. I didn't know that they were that big. So, but yeah, I think the trip to Tuscany was so interesting because there's so much organic agriculture there, and that's really hard to find in the U.S. just because of how hard it is to get into it. But that was really interesting to be able to talk to them about their practices in the farm because it's a whole different culture, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
There were also like local food markets right around our apartment, so that was kind of the cool thing too. You could go visit a ton of bakeries, cheesemakers, pretty much anything you can imagine. Lots of meat shops, delis, pastry shops. There was pretty much everything right there too, and pasta, of course, is everywhere. There's like fast food pasta type things too. So there's a lot right there too. It's not like we had to leave Rome to go see that.
Which one is the most important?
I think Dr. Amani had gelato every day of the trip.
A gelato a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, that's great. So, Liana, you had a question.
Yeah, can you guys talk a little bit about how you plan to prepare for this trip, like financially? If you can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So there is a program scholarship that is offered through both are sponsored by one of our deans, and then there's another program scholarship as well. So that does offset some of the cost of the program. For me personally, I just kind of had to budget mentally, and then I applied for a lot of scholarships, not necessarily related to the program, but just ones that I spent a lot of time last spring just trying to make it as possible and affordable as I could. So that for me, that was it. Just trying and match up my budget as accordingly as possible. But this summer also, I chose an internship, my after Rome internship that I knew would help me make up some of that deficit too. So just trying to be mindful, because obviously there is cost for any of these trips, whether it's this one where you're in country a lot longer than like the 2 weeks for other travel courses, but I do think this is like very much worth the cost, especially because it adds such a level or increases the level of maybe professionalism development. This is such a value added program. There's so much more than just going to Rome and exploring Rome. You're developing those relationships with the FAO and working on like a high level project too. We spent a lot of time in the FAO getting to see the different things they do. So I think it's worth the cost. It just takes some mindfulness when preparing.
I would also say there are ways to manage your costs once you get in country. So our group tried to do that by doing group dinners. So we were only having to buy meals every like once a week-ish when we were cooking. And then also I feel like the price of groceries and stuff was pretty comparable, if not a little bit cheaper than what I would spend here. So that was a good way. Even eating out more than I probably should have is just a little bit more affordable. But there are ways to kind of go about that as a group. I know like Rachel and Irene and I would share different foods and stuff if we knew we couldn't get through produce, or like big containers of yogurt, and then we would all split the cost of living in the apartment. So things like the facility provides a lot of the things that you need there, but as you go through like Kleenex when we all got sick there with our allergies, or like hand soap as we went through that, there's ways to split up the cost. So it's a little bit nicer that you're splitting up among potentially 8 people versus some other programs that I've went on that's like a smaller group, which is like more personal cost. But that was just my experience with that too.
I do have some budget sheets here. There are some budget sheets that are for students in the college. We do open the program up to students outside of the college, but the scholarships might be a little different. So I have budget sheets for both. So the program fee is $4,900, which is a real number. And that includes your lodging, it includes all of your program in country, it includes some group meals, it includes the trip to Tuscany as well, and then all of the program coordination and the staff that we have on the ground in Rome. Outside of that, there is another number which I don't have committed to memory, but there are out-of-pocket expenses. So in that out-of-pocket expenses, it includes your airfare. It would include meals that aren't group meals. As you can tell, you're living in Rome for a month, so you don't want to have every meal with the group and everybody the whole time. You want to live there, go to the farmer's market, make your own meals and things like that. So there is some out-of-pocket expenses for meals as well. Souvenirs and spending money is included in that. And then there's tuition and fees for 3 credits in the summer term. And again, there are scholarships that are included as part of that. On the budget sheet, you'll see scholarships that are listed that are automatic scholarships for anyone accepted to the program. Then, of course, there are students that, and they can tell you other places that they looked for additional scholarship money, but there are specific scholarships that are automatic when you've been accepted to this program. So if you have questions about that, I'm happy to answer more questions. Yeah. Yes?
I have a question not related to this one, but once committed to the program, can we drop out because of any issues possibly? Can we drop out of the program at any point, or is there a deadline to which we can drop out of?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the process that we were talking about, you apply, you're considered, and then if you're accepted to the program, you're given a certain amount of time in which to commit. So we want you to think about it, talk to family, make sure it works in your schedule and all of those things. And then we do ask you to commit. At that point, we do expect that you will be going with us. And we will start to book travel and we will start to make plans with that in mind. So we would want you to consider really carefully if you really plan to go or if you're still on the fence. If you're still on the fence, you're not really sure, we would not want you to commit. We would want you to come and talk to us. Now let's say you commit and then something really big happens. Something changes with your schedule, something changes with your health, something changes with your circumstances. Come and talk with us. You know, we understand some of those things happen, right? We don't want anybody to have to pay for a trip that they can't go on. At the same time, we are selecting students and we are turning students away. So when you commit, you are taking a spot on the trip. So we do want you to consider that carefully. But if something happens, if an emergency happens, then we will work with you to make that happen, to figure out the details. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. Okay. How has the project or the program benefited your learning or your career path? Oh.
So I actually just applied for a job in Italy. So So yeah, I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't been there. I really liked it.
That's a total surprise. That's awesome. Keep us posted. Yeah, keep us posted. Others? Yeah.
Okay, well, mine's not as good as that, but I guess this program has really helped me both academically and professionally. Throughout the spring semester course, you're learning leadership skills, but also kind of how to conduct research on this kind of scale. So even though we were just doing something as simple as a literature review, that really helped me academically in writing my papers. One for Dr. Ramesh Baliar's class in the back there, but then also going into my senior year, some of my senior capstone projects, papers I'm writing academically, and then also just what I'm able to contribute at my job back here has been a lot in that. And then also just learning how to connect with professionals from different fields and then different countries sometimes. So I came back to a lot of coworkers that we hired that are international hires. And so learning the cross-cultural kind of communication and those kind of skills that we had in the FAO has enhanced my experiences that I was already having here and I was able to come back to. So that was really beneficial for me.
I can add to that. So I actually got my internship sort of through being in this program. I had the opportunity to interview with Dr. Bain, and so already knowing her from the class really tied into that. And like I mentioned before, this program really kickstarted my awareness of world issues and how I can play a role in that. And then through my internship, I worked with the Norman Borlaug Heritage Foundation in Cresco, Iowa, and he plays a huge role in food insecurity, and so I was able to tie some of our research back into projects that I did through my internship.
And also, I kind of already touched on this, but truly, like, I learned so much about working in a team on this project. You know, stuff like teamwork isn't really something that's taught. So, like, having the opportunity to work in, like, such an interdisciplinary team was, like, it was such a great learning experience because no one really teaches you how to work well with teams. No one really teaches you about teamwork and like listening to others, bouncing ideas back and forth, you know, stuff like that. Like people don't really teach you about that. And like this opportunity, like this was such a great opportunity to actually like dive into that and like work with people who were all like really devoted on getting this completed and getting it done really well, and like having an exceptional thing to present at the UN. So we were all like driven and devoted to the goal, and that made it like such a cool experience because it was like all something that we really cared about a lot, and we were all really able to work well on it together. So
I know regarding, I'll just say real quick, one thing that really helped me and like with the project that I found really beneficial was I felt very lucky because our project being on like nutrition and camel milk and on a community very much aligned with my like career interests. So from that project, I was able to see this whole new scope of like what the FAO does, which there's a lot of organizations around the world that do great things like what they do. And so it was just really a great opportunity to see like firsthand how they take information, they apply it and like organize it. And then like we got to learn a lot about the United Nations in general as well. So then seeing just all the different career paths that are around the FAO, the UN, and how information is taken and then applied into the world to improve communities and just lives all over the place. So that was one of the things that I really, really appreciate about the program. And I just felt lucky for what the topics ended up being. So
Who do you think would benefit from this program?
Yes. Is it? So I came in a little bit late. I apologize. I got to work a lot later than I thought I was going to. My name is Allison Aves. I'm a junior in agriculture and rural policy studies with minors in food science, economics, and political science. And with that diverse background of majors, I think that I can speak to, it doesn't matter what your specialty area is or career interests are, working for a multifaceted team in a variety of different there's a joke with a variety of different with people with a variety of different interests on one large project will impact you no matter where you go. After I got back from Rome, I started working with the National Milk Producers Federation in Washington, D.C., and that allowed me to work on a variety of different projects from animal science related projects, epidemiology, to trade policy globally. And I think that that's a very specific niche area in policy, but then I realized that it didn't matter what class I was in at school, it applied somewhere where you're going to get a project that goes into a bunch of different specialty areas, and it's important to work with a variety of different people to gauge knowledge and ineptness in that. Sorry, I'm like, thank you.
Others want to comment on who would benefit from this program?
Other than literally anyone, because everyone should go on it. I went into this program and we like started narrowing down topics, and the first topic that we got was about like nutrition regarding terrestrial animal source foods, and I was like, oh no, I know literally nothing about animals. I'm not going to be able to contribute to that at all. What am I going to do? Because I'm very much like a background in gardening, and I already told you guys I had never seen a cow before up close before this program. But I really think like there's a pathway for anyone. Like even if I would have ended up on that project, I would have been able to contribute, because it's just whether or not you want to actually dive in and work well with the team. And that's like there's really like you can like if you're passionate about what you're looking into, then you can find a place for you, you know. Like I really think that it would have been fine whatever project I ended up on. So yeah.
I can touch on we were both freshmen like we said, and I know there's some freshmen out there in the crowd, and so it can be kind of intimidating working with sophomores, juniors, not just you, Sophia, I meant all of them. It can be a little bit intimidating. But as long as you're willing to grow and put the time and effort into this class and being able to listen to others and their perspectives as well as being able to really think about your stance on different issues, then you'll make a difference in this team and be able to catch up and have those valuable conversations with the upperclassmen. Just remember to always keep growing and have some, realize you are younger, but that doesn't mean that your opinion, your stance on an issue is less valid.
Yeah, I would say, kind of echoing what everyone else said, touching on having underclassmen apply for the program. I know we gave the freshmen a little bit of grief because they were so young, but truly they brought so much to the program and really brought a lot of energy to our teams and into the apartment. Being kind of grumpy old upperclassmen that were like, wow, this is so much work, more focus on that kind of thing. They brought a lot of energy being like, guys, we're literally in Rome, like, let's go do something fun. And then just being on an interdisciplinary team. I'm a Globe major, so I feel like we normally pride ourselves on being a pretty interdisciplinary major, which is great, but even coming into this, I had a lot of room for growth. Irene's a dairy science major, and Allison has a lot of experience growing up on a dairy farm, and I grew up in the suburbs, so that's not really something that I knew. But even in those peer-to-peer interactions, even if it wasn't something related to our project, being able to talk with your peers when we went on the farm visits and kind of learning what people's perspectives were about how they were raising livestock and how the production systems worked was really interesting for me because that's not something I had a lot of background in. So that was able to kind of shape the way I was thinking about things that I never would have either. So.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, one last question then. What was your favorite part of the program? And we have just 2 minutes all together. So what's your favorite part of the program? Speed round.
You start.
The looking into the FAO and like getting to see the FAO for the first time, that was awesome.
Just being able to live and work in Rome with some really awesome people.
I really loved Tuscany. I know Sophia was saying that was like, we all got out there and we were just like, oh my gosh, like country air, like not like a loud city and seagulls, which Rome is amazing too, but it was so nice to just see agriculture and like the countryside in Italy.
I would say dinner with Franco and his family in Tuscany, and also Nutella gelato.
Yes. Nutella gelato. Yeah. How about you guys?
I also really like Franco's house. Son-in-law played the accordion.
Yes.
Yeah.
He walked out playing Country Roads.
Irene.
Looking at all the programs that the FAO and UN have across the world, especially in like really small areas where you wouldn't ever expect there to be such a robust program.
Like just exploring the city, like especially at night, Rome's really beautiful.
It really gave humanities to such a large global organization like FAO, like meeting Patricia and Tikian, like it was really exciting to meet people that work in these positions and what their backgrounds were. And it humanized it and made me realize like you can actually go work in those places.
Great. So if you could help me thank our panel today. Thank you very much. We are very, very, very happy that you're all here. If you have additional questions, please feel free to come up and ask them. Our office, so Marta Grant is in the back. Please raise your hand, Marta. Marta's one of our recruiters. And so Marta and I are in 18 Curtis, which is at the other end of the hallway here. You can come anytime and talk to us about the program, this or other study abroad programs. So if you didn't sign the sheet when you came in, we'd love for you to sign your name and your email just so that we can continue to communicate with you about deadlines and scholarship opportunities. But thank you all very, very much for coming. Thank you.